Hello there. I'm back again with another video under the Safe Relationship Training umbrella. And today I'm going to talk about intermittent reinforcement, sex and gaslighting. And I'm going to be talking about intermittent reinforcement a couple of times in some of these videos because, to my mind anyway, it's quite an important aspect of the abusive dynamic, or a dynamic with a lot of people actually. We may not recognise it as an abusive or disrespectful situation because intermittent reinforcement is used quite a lot in our communications with other people. So today I want to, under the Safe Relationship Training umbrella, look at intermittent reinforcement and the understanding of that, relate it to sex and also to gaslighting. And gaslighting, as we know, is a type of behaviour, a number of types of behaviours that can be used in order to convince the other person that they are unbalanced, insane, crazy, whatever word you want to use, just to really confuse the issues. It's used really to sort of destabilise, get the victim to remain confused so that they are more easily manipulated, they're more easily then kept in place and embedded when they're kept confused, don't really know what's going on, don't really know whether the relationship is working, don't really know whether the abuser loves them or not. They are very confused and therefore they are in a fog and seem to be having to work their way uphill constantly, trying to give their energy to this relationship, and yet nothing seems to work. And usually it's not working as far as they're concerned because they're coming up against this abusive dynamic each time, which seems to halt them whichever direction they go in. And that's done on purpose a lot of the time because the abuser is intent usually on keeping the status quo in place. Therefore, your attempts to empower yourself or have any power in the relationship at all are going to be thwarted, aren't they? Because you're coming up against their terms and conditions and their agenda, and they want that agenda to be kept in place. So you trying to change the dynamic isn't going to work as far as they're concerned, and therefore it's why you seem to be hitting your head against a brick wall, as it were, because whatever you seem to try, nothing seems to work. And this is the insidious effect of abusive dynamics, is that the abuser not only abuses, so comes against the victim in a number of ways, psychologically, emotionally, physically, spiritually, sexually, but also, as far as they're concerned, it's important for them that they keep the victim disempowered at the same time, because there's less work involved for them if the victim is disempowered than if they're having to constantly come up against a powerful opponent, which is why they choose certain victims and not other people. So that they'll often not choose powerful women or men to come up against because it's too much work. And there are plenty of people out there who are disempowered, who are easier to manipulate. So as far as gaslighting and sex and intermittent reinforcement, they're used in a synergistic way, as all the behaviours are, so that they support one another. So intermittent reinforcement, as I've mentioned elsewhere, is where periodically, throughout the dynamic, possibly till the end, there is a reinforcement of some sort which reinforces the victim's belief that the relationship can work, that it is working, in fact, because they're getting some good stuff. That may be in terms of compliments, it might be in terms of gifts, it could be loving behaviour, and it could be sex, which is wrapped in a very seductive and loving, apparently, way, so that the victim believes once again that there is hope. There is hope for a good future for them, and that's the victim's desire to make the relationship work. So when the intermittent reinforcement is given, the hope is given that what she or he is doing works. So that keeps the victim giving their energy to the relationship and to the abuser, rather than saying, well, I've had enough of this and I'm just going to leave. I'm not getting anything in here for me. Because if the abuser isn't able to keep the victim in place, they're not going to be able to keep abusing, and they're going to have to start out with someone new, which takes more work, more grooming. They've got to go through the process again. Unless they have many victims on hold in the background, which some of them do, particularly narcissistic people will often have many on the go at the same time. So intermittent reinforcement, that can be used through sex, that can be used through a whole number of ways in order to pull the victim back in, pull them back up, if you will. They may have been pushed back down through the abuse and the degrading behaviour, and then they're pulled back up again. So they're pulled up, pushed down, pulled up. So of course this creates cognitive dissonance within the victim, confusion, not knowing what to do now, because they want to be empowered, but through passive aggressive behaviour, they're pushed back into their role again of victim. So they're kept very specifically in a role which is specifically designed to maintain the agenda and the abuser's status quo, or the matrix as I call it, the abuser's matrix. So the gaslighting, which is the confusion, which is, I believe, a part of that is the intermittent reinforcement, is working together to support the abuser's agenda. And when we step back in these situations, when we take this objective view, very powerful tool to be able to be objective rather than looking at things from a subjective point of view where we think it's all about us. It could just be all about a dynamic that's being set up. And when we look at things from that perspective, things become very much clearer, and we are able actually to be able to anticipate what will happen next. And in that case, you'll be able to build yourself up to a place where you may be able to make conscious decisions as far as the way forward is concerned. So I hope that helps someone out there. And as always, stay safe and very happy. Bye-bye.